On the last episode, we spoke about leadership and integrity leadership. So we continue that discussion today with Charissa Bloomberg, a psychologist and our celebrity psychologist, if I can call it that. The interesting thing is that the first part of this discussion, we spoke about what do we define as integrity and what do we define as a life without integrity and how stressful that can be. Infusing integrity into leadership is something that Charissa is trying to convince me of, and I'm going to get there today. I'm going to find out how integrity can be infused with leadership and what the need for that is and how she plans to go about doing all of that when we come back. Charissa, welcome back. I know that we've been speaking a lot on the previous episode about integrity and leadership.
Thank you, Faizal. I'm really excited.
I'm almost convinced that the two can go together, but I'm hoping after this episode you'll convince me fully that integrity and leadership can stand in the same line.
Let me do my best then.
Okay. So we spoke about defining integrity in that last episode, and I think that we really got to the crux of what do we see as integrity, what do we define as integrity, what do we understand as integrity on different levels, be that from government level down to your household, to your personal relationships and all that kind of thing. But today I want to talk about how you plan to, through with what you do, and I know that you have the former public protector at your side also, and we can talk a bit about that also. How do you plan through what you do to bring people into an awareness space about integrity and their leadership?
Faizal, I'm doing it through talks, through workshops, and through courses. And yes, there is, for me, when I started on this journey, and it's still quite soon into the whole journey that we're doing this, there was one person who stood out for me for integrity and for all of our nation, was, of course, our wonderful advocate, Thuli Madonsela. She also won the Integrity Award in 2014, I stand to be corrected. So I was on a mission to actually please just meet with her and ask her to be our patron, because she's just my role model. So that happened last month. I'm very proud and excited to say after we met her. So we would love to involve, I must be careful because this isn't confirmed yet, but we want to involve Advocate Madonsela to maybe we'll start off all the workshops with an inspirational talk to her, because you know how she feels about integrity. And then we'll get her involved in possibly in a little bit in the course material and signing off certificates. So that is a big plus. And I'm passionate and I'm really excited about that. I'll try not to jump on the chair about that. But what we'll do is we go in and it is to inspire, motivate, and uplift. So I'll get the audience to understand, as we spoke about earlier, for those who've missed it, what is integrity. And it's all about active participation. We share, it's an interactive talk, it's brainstorming.
Yes, before you continue, some people are going to come back and say, well, is this not something that we were taught at home? Is it not something that we taught at the church, the mosque, and the temple? What's your comment about that? Because I think that places of worship and religion does have underlying constructs teaching us about the honesty, integrity, and doing the right thing all the time. But your course and what you're doing, I stand under correction, is maybe another angle and another focus when we do slip away sometimes.
Yes. So fantastic if they're doing it, as you've said, as a part of the religion, spiritual base, faith-based. Fantastic. That'll just add even further value. What I'm doing is I'm going in and I'm looking at integrity, not only with leaderships, I'm looking at business integrity, sales integrity. I'm looking at the youth leadership. We really need to start focusing on our youth as well. They're our future leaders. So I'm looking at it not just as integrity, but how does that apply? If you take, for example, even the sales, someone just wants to sell this car to this little old auntie because they need the commission. Where's the integrity in that? And we're looking at businesses because if businesses don't have integrity, what have they got? And they haven't made the link yet that integrity is everything. You lose that, you lose your profits, you lose your people, you can't come back once you've lost integrity or ethics. And there is a difference between ethics and integrity, but we will get there. So mine is put into the whole culture of business and leadership and corporates and youth and women, if that makes sense.
Are you saying that if there are any corporates watching the show and that if there are any businesses watching the show, whichever level you are, you are effectively saying that when you involve your particular course, which is integrity leadership, into that system,
Yes.
they could be running a more, or rather sailing a better sailed ship.
Exactly.
Because you're going right down into the deep-rooted aspect of operations. And when we talk about operations in any business, it does not only refer to the skills, training that people have undergone, or if they know how to do the job or not. It also deals with the very aspect of them as human beings applying themselves as human beings to what they know.
Yes. And we're talking about building a culture of integrity. So everyone has their code of conduct, their corporate governance, their ethics, how to behave. I go in and help them with policies and procedures so that the whole culture could be around integrity. What does it mean? How do we live it daily? How do we implement this? Because for some people it's completely new, but yet you can have the ethics. And ethics is just your code of conduct, it's your set of rules, but you still need integrity in order to apply the ethics.
Correct, yes. So if we look at the actual construct of the actual course itself, so is this done at the work environment? You sit with people and you go through an actual set work of things. Can you take us through that process itself?
Yes. So firstly, we'd meet with a corporate who may be interested, and we'll find out what they want to achieve, what are their goals, and we do a whole needs analysis. How long have they got? Have they got half a day? Can we give me a day? What are the outcomes? What do we hope to achieve? Do you just want to help them to get a better understanding of integrity? Do you want to build integrity culture? Do you want to have integrity employees? Do you want to have the leaders? Do you want to go right through the whole organization? So where do we want to start? And then I'll devise the whole tailor-made program specifically for their needs and the outcomes. We in talks, in fact, tomorrow with Stellenbosch School of Governance. Maybe some of my courses are going to go through them. We're talking together to work in conjunction with them on the integrity courses, so they'll get accredited as well through the university. Very early stages. I can't say anything further at this point.
Do you believe that if you are able to assist in solving this problem on whichever level that you are, starting maybe on a micro level and that becoming a macro philosophy perhaps down the line, do you believe that that is your way personally of trying to make this world a better place? Because for me, I personally believe that everything we do in life and everything that we touch, see and feel, we need to, as human beings, in whatever we're doing and whatever sphere of life we are, whatever work we do, we need to try and make the world a better place through what we do. Do you see that as your journey?
Yes. How did you know that? Yes, absolutely. I look around, and I've done the days of private practice and one-on-one counseling, and I just want to reach so many more people because I'm passionate about it. And yes, I want to do something about our people dying out there, animals being horrifically abused, people being horrible to other, murder. I want to do something. I feel there's a moral decay, and you're right. It comes from a very core within passion to do this. And to my horror, no one has written a proper course on integrity. And I think that's where it started. When I started researching it and writing my own course, I thought, yes, I do want to reach. And even if we can just change a few people, it does come from the bottom core.
How do you define the line between ethics, as we normally understand ethics, and integrity? What's the actual defining line between that?
Well, ethics
is there a line, in other words?
I think there is, and to my understanding, ethics will tell you we can do this, we can't do this. Here's a scenario of what to do. Ethically, this is wrong. However, integrity is maybe never mind the rules. It's doing the right thing at the right time, all the time when no one's watching. And we need integrity in order to apply the ethics. So I actually see them going hand in hand. As well as we haven't mentioned emotional intelligence. It also goes in there, and spiritual intelligence. We need all of that as well, which is part of my training, to include integrity.
So let's look at very difficult cases, for example, and I'm just going to be hypothetical. Might be a real example, I'm not sure. But we look at a society where we find a group of young boys, maybe 15 to 22, somewhere around there. We find that because of upbringing and societal pressures and social constructionism, we find that their behavior might be erratic. So there's a group of boys sitting out there, sub-economic environment, involved with drugs, gangsterism, very hardened behavior, if you know what I'm speaking about, and difficult to talk to. How do you deal with such matters if that was thrown on your table, because sometimes we kind of need to go right down into the very abyss of society's problems and see how do we resolve those issues. And that's where some of these problems might lie. If we are able to alter the way that some young man that's used to pulling out a knife at somebody's throat to steal their cell phone, if we're able to stop that behavior through bringing up a level of conscious awareness around integrity, we may be able to solve some problems. But in your view as a psychologist, is that at all possible?
I hear you've got this hardened, almost hardened criminal who come from poverty background.
Use this as a very difficult
yes, but
example.
it's true.
Yeah.
It really is out there, and you start saying, let's have integrity. Please don't put the knife to the old auntie and steal her phone.
Yes.
It's not right. And like,
Correct.
yeah, well, I'm starving in the street. My family is starving. My mother's sick. That is a huge challenge because it goes far bigger than just integrity. But
Because you are going to be determined on this side by Maslow's hierarchy,
Yes.
that's saying that
exactly.
I need to eat. So how do where does it all stop? And how do we draw? And if we can't find the end point, how do we balance all of that? And does someone like you continue trying to delve into that space, hoping that you'll effect change?
I am going to delve into that space. We haven't looked at it yet, and I'm talking with the university because there's some amazing projects that we're going to be doing with youth, using industrial theatre, using psychodrama, looking at poverty, looking at issues. But you're right, just to mention Maslow's hierarchy, if I haven't got a roof over my head, you're asking me to be actualized and have integrity, which is the highest hierarchy. However, there we take also a hardened look. I've done some incredible work with adolescents. I'm probably going to be criticized for this. We took what potentially...
Can I just welcome you to that club?
Pardon?
Can I welcome you to that club? Of being criticized. It's fine. Welcome. I'll get you a membership number soon.
Thank you. But I did some radical work, but it really paid off. We took a couple of adolescents who was on the road for drugs and almost raping, and we put them in prison for the night. And we said to the policeman, pretend to give them the hardest time, lock them up, let's have some screaming next door. We gave them the shock.
This process.
Yes.
Amazing.
We gave them the shock of their life. Scream and shout and do whatever it takes. They came out of there trembling. One of them went themselves. But it changed their life because carry on down this path. It's an instant gratification. And yes, but you're going to end up here and you're going to end up long term here. And this is what happens in I know there's been some programs on that they actually do overseas, but that's a radical way. But we have to try and do some change, and I can't do it on my own.
Correct, yes. And I think therefore the partnerships that you have, and probably I know that in the previous episode we were talking about that the rot is really everywhere. It goes up from your mosque committee, down to your church committee, down to your schools, your corporate, all the way up the organizations and into government. The rot of social decay and moral decay is everywhere and anywhere. Yes. And we're all susceptible to that kind of thing. But when it comes to the level of what you're talking about in terms of juvenile issues and trying to resolve things on that level, because as you know, that juvenile behavior is, I don't have a stat on this, but as we get through adulthood, that behavior is going to be carried through and have a new breed of adults going out into society that were very well trained in their earlier years. So we got to start at some point. It's a very dichotomous discussion to have with you, because I'm trying to ask you, do we have this discussion from a top-down point of view, or do we start this bottom-up, or do you start in the middle where the problem is and say let's work down, or do we work that way? Where do you really start? Because it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, and the rot, as you say, is everywhere, and it's very, very scary. I think we start at both sides. I think the work's got to be done right at the bottom and right at the top, and hopefully come and meet somewhere. And it's got to include schools and the whole bigger society as well, and parents, and it cannot be tackled by just one person having ideals about it. It's all sides. But I want to do research on, why do people lose that integrity? Why do we have the rot? Why? How do we lose it? Did we ever have it? There's a lot of research questions I'm asking that I'm hoping that we could go into.
to just my unlearned opinion on that, my personal feeling is that it might be a combination of things. I think that it's, if we look at Maslow's hierarchy again, the need for certain things, that's at the bottom of the pyramid, and then perhaps economy, social media, influence, peer pressure. I think that it's a potent concoction of a number of things that leads people to really veer off the track.
But how much do we use, and it's easy to sit here as people thinking who I am and we're not judging, but if we compare to The Pursuit of Happiness, the real story, do you know that story, I have forgotten his name. He was homeless and sleeping in a toilet. How did he make it to be a millionaire? How much do we blame it on society and our circumstances? People are homeless and they've done amazing things. They've turned their whole life around. So what is the difference between the one that goes to be a gangster and kills people and does whatever, and the other who gets himself out of that and just, earns a good living?
Charissa, I'm going to dump something on you as a psychologist.
Oh dear.
Right. Do you think that if we go deeper down, and I'm not certain about this, but do you think that people's self-awareness and self-esteem plays a role in all of that? If they have low self-esteem and a low level of self-awareness, are they not susceptible to social constructionism and influences by peer pressure and all of that?
Yes. Very good question. Absolutely, the self-esteem plays a huge role in that. But intrinsically, and as I've said this before in the other program, intrinsically we all know what is right or wrong. No matter if we're coming from the slums, no matter if we've had, no one knows my story, but I've also had hectic financial situations, and it's just me. How do some people get it right and come out of it? We know what's right and wrong.
Without putting their hands into the money bag.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
So I don't have the answer for that, but I hope, as I say, that it's some research we can get into. Some get it right and some don't, irrespective of the culture and where they're from.
So I think that the matter that you're bringing up and talking about integrity leadership and the course that you're offering and the fact that you are taking time out to go to corporates, to business, to try and infuse, and I know we talk about that, and I'm also the head of a company, and so I know I sit there and we talk about this in our speeches to staff and to ourselves, and in board meetings we talk about this. But today I think that you have sort of brought me more in touch with the aspect of integrity. So I think that's maybe what your course really offers, and that is, I think that any CEO can walk out there and say, we need to operate in a position that speaks of integrity. And I think any politician has abused that word for the last 500 years, probably 1 million times per year. So I get all of that, but really deconstructing the concept and saying, do I understand the concept? And only if I understand the concept properly, can I infuse that in what I do? I think that is what I find where you are bridging the gap. That's where I find you really taking strides to try and connect people to that aspect.
That you've put that so succinctly. I think that is what I am trying to do, the bottom line. And some people have said it's crazy, and some have said this is the best time ever to do it. It's a journey, and I just know I'm passionate about it, and I have to do that. But if businesses can understand building a culture of integrity is actually going to be a win for them, for profits, because businesses are only interested in profits. If we can just see that bigger picture, and then we can help do all the social responsibility projects to help others.
Well, what's your message to youth out there? I think that youth probably are the most impressionable at this stage. I know that South Africa considers youth to be up to the age of 35 years old. I know that, but let's look at the youngsters. They're in a precarious time at the moment. They are being, there are influences around which sort of take them in all corners because, as I mentioned, there's economy, there's a need to do what the Joneses are doing. There's marketing all over Facebook. People are looking at cars and they're looking at this guy is hanging out with that girl, so they need to sort of comply with all these things. So the idea of what does Dr. Phil call it? He talks about the individual that's right down inside the authentic self. The idea of the authentic self is like somebody that's buried, that's being thrown with sand in a grave all the time. The authentic self is really deeply down very deep down in people, and what they're portraying outside and acting out outside may be somebody totally different. We get that. What's your advice in this very trialing time around the world globally, where people are encompassed by challenge? What's your advice as a psychologist to them to remain true to that path so that they don't fall prey to all these kind of things, because they're falling prey to losing their integrity because of pressures? What's your advice?
In a nutshell, the media, the peer pressure on them, please look towards the future and know that they can do anything with their lives. Every decision they're going to make is going to impact on them. It's going to bring them closer to integrity or success or the future, or further down the drain path to end up one day, heaven forbid, dead in the gutter. So to think carefully, to find role models that they can attach themselves to, whether it's the church, the mosque, wherever it is. Find people that they actually look up to. Find a sport, find the dancing, the street dancing. Find something that gives them the self-esteem, that gives them the passion, and attach themselves to that and know that they can make a success. They are future. Just let them find, some of them are fatherless, and that's so hard for them. So I'd say look for the role models, look for people, and spend time. Don't get caught up in temptation. It's going to lead you down the wrong path.
As a last note, parenting in this time has become a challenge too. What's your advice to parents, noting that, and I want to just bring this very close to home, because we speak about integrity and we speak about the behavior when an individual doesn't have a sense of integrity. And we see very enmeshed behavior and that sort of thing. What's your advice to parents that are raising children in this time that where people are skidding off the track, as I put it?
Yes. My heart goes out to the parents, because in this economy you're getting both parents working, you're getting parents living past each other, you're getting single parents, extended family. It is a struggle to raise a child in this day and age. And I'll just say, again, there's no course for parenting. Please also just get help. There's so much help in communities. And I hear the women who come to me and say, I don't know what to do with my son. He's out there, he's doing drugs, he's stealing from us. We've got to be strict, and we've got to have boundaries, and we've got to ask for help. There's so many amazing support groups. There's so many other parents going through exactly the same thing that you are with your children. Get help, because it's become so difficult that you cannot raise a child on your own without the assistance of community projects.
Charissa, some businesses are looking at the program at the moment, and they do you attend to all businesses on any level? So this can be a small business, small to medium enterprise, or corporate business, and you'll go in there and assist them with this particular issue inside their company?
Yes, on any level, right down from the bottom all the way up to the CEO, although I think I should start at the top. Any level, any
now,
business.
that's what I've been trying to get out of you.
Yes.
Do you really start on top, or do you start at the bottom?
Both. I want to do both.
Yes.
But if we're starting in a business, you start at the top. And it's very hard, because they're meant to be the role models, they are the leaders. But a lot of them say...
They don't want to be challenged.
They don't want to be challenged. Yeah. But a lot of them say, I don't have time for this, I am an integrity leader, I don't need this, put my staff on it. So that's the challenges we come up with, and I'm not going to sit in here. I've only had one amazing integrity leader who sits in there with his staff and takes the time out to do that.
And that's amazing. And I think maybe, it's never too late to learn anything in life. And I suppose that people need to open themselves up to learning so that we can develop further and we can change the world through things like with what you are doing. Charissa, thank you for coming onto the show. I'm hoping that our viewers get in touch with you and do the thing that's right to do, and that is to develop ourselves with higher levels of integrity, so that we can not only sit watching TV at night saying, what on earth are they doing? We need to be part of that change. We need to be the change that we want to see. I think as Mahatma Gandhi said it.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well said.
Thank you. Hoping to have you back on the show soon.
Thank you so much for being here.
Charissa Bloomberg, psychologist, and she's talking about integrity leadership, the importance of having integrity in everything we do, from being the leader back home, in your own home, to the mosque, to the church, to your societal organizations, government, and how that impacts. She's doing a set of training courses for business to infuse, as I call it, leadership through integrity into your business. And in that way, you might just improve your bottom line, your productivity, and even your staff traction. Who knows? Until next time.